We are going to have presenting at the NWR conference is Riedel Resources, as an Australian-based mining and exploration company focused on exploring for gold and base metals in Australia and in Arizona and the US. The key for the company now is it's recently announced plans to acquire up to 80% of the high-grade Kingman Gold Project in Arizona, which comprises about 195 prospective lode contiguous lode blocks. I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the presentation. And presenting today will be Mike Bohm. Mike is a mining engineer, and he is joining Riedel as chairman as part of the company's acquisition of Kingman. He has very extensive experience in corporate and operational management in the sector. Look forward to hearing more about the acquisition and Riedel from Mike. So Mike, over to you.
Thanks very much, Mark, and thanks for everyone for dialing in, be it morning or afternoon, or wherever you are. And thanks also to NWR for inviting me on, and Steffi and Kelly for helping me get started. What I did want to talk about today was the Kingman project in Arizona, so focus on the new project in the United States. I'll let you read the disclaimer over a cup of coffee, perhaps at your leisure, and skip through to the first slide. And really, I wanted to take a step back and just introduce people to Arizona, because Arizona is a very well-known mining jurisdiction in the United States and the Southwest USA. Most people know it for its copper history. So companies like Freeport-McMoRan, Phelps Dodge, etc., have operated there for a long time with big copper mines. More recently, BHP and Rio Tinto have got their Resolution project. South 32 are down there on the border. Hudbay are there. But we're located in the northwest corner, so the top end of the state. And indeed, we're closer to Las Vegas than we are to Phoenix. And whilst I often fly in and out of Phoenix, I mostly go through Vegas because it's only a 90-minute drive away. The northwest corner of Arizona has a long history of polymetallic mining with a lot of gold and silver. And in fact, the area had extensive gold, silver, lead and zinc mines up until about 1942. And that coincided with the outbreak of World War II, and the American government banned gold mining. So really not much happened there for about 50 years. And then there was a small drill program on Tintic, which I'll come to in my presentation. And then we got involved in early 2019. We did some geophysics, we did some surface sampling, and that culminated late last year with an 11-hole diamond program, which was very exciting, and I guess is the reason that we're here today. This is my favourite photo of all the presentations I do. It's a lovely photo taken in the summer of 1937 by the head frame at the Arizona magma mine. And you can see, I guess that's the entire workforce and their families standing by the head frame. And you can see there's an ore bin, and the gentleman standing with the little girl on his shoulders under the ore bin. And if you look at the photo on the right, that's yours truly standing in the same place under the ore bin some 80 years later. But it just gives you a sense of what was there then and what's there now. I guess the next photo really shows that in detail. It took me about half an hour wandering around in the bush to get that shot right. But I wanted people to be able to see what it was in its heyday and how it looks today with our drill rig. And if you look at that photograph in the top back in 1937, you can see that it was a substantial amount of capital development that was put in there, because they sunk a shaft to 500 feet. They mined from 100 to the 300 foot level. The processing plant, the offices and the tailings in the right-hand corner. And if you look at the bottom photo, which I took late last year, you can see a yellow arrow which points to the drill rig. That's our drill rig. And we like to joke very much tongue-in-cheek that despite it having been mined extensively, we drilled the discovery hole into this because, believe it or not, this had never been drilled. We put the first ever hole into the Arizona magma mine. And I guess that segues nicely into my next slide. I've spoken about Arizona magma, but also Tintic. Tintic is about 1 kilometre away, and it was also mined down to about 120 feet. And it had extensive gold, silver, lead, zinc grades reported historically, and then was drilled in the 1990s. And then there was 37 holes drilled in the 1990s. And then we went in there in November last year and reported high grades, which I'll come to. But I guess the takeout from this slide that I'm trying to get across is, if this was in Kalgoorlie, and I lived in Kalgoorlie for 8 years, if this was near Kalgoorlie, it would have been extensively drilled by now. And to have a property like this that has had very little drilling is I guess, part of the excitement that we felt for it. And the next slide kind of puts that in perspective, because it shows the tenement boundary, or the claim boundary, as they call it in the US. And we have about 5 kilometres by 2.5 kilometres of project footprint. And a contiguous block of ground like that in the US is actually quite hard to put together. But it's a very large claim block. And in that entire area, there's only ever been 50 holes drilled, and 43 of them were drilled around Tintic. So it kind of gives you the sense of the opportunity we have here. The other interesting thing to point out is the extensive mineralisation, not only within our claim boundary, but also in the region. The Mineral Park mine is located in the bottom right-hand corner. That's about 5 kilometres away. And that's a very large copper moly system. The Tennessee mine you see there, that went down to 1,400 feet and operated for a number of decades. And that produced zinc, lead, gold, and silver. And then the little Emerald Isle mine to the south. So to use a term that our geologists tell me is a geological term, they say this area is very juiced up. It sounds like a mining engineer's term, but it actually really sums up the area quite well. It's a very juiced up area. And the other thing is, the takeaway is just how well we are located to infrastructure. So the Interstate 93 is located just a couple of kilometres away. So it's a very, very easily accessible area year round. Now, when we acquired the property last year, we were intrigued by the fact that no geophysics had been undertaken. So we went and did some ground mag. And what was really intriguing was the 100% correlation between the gabbros, which are showing up as this purpley blue, and the location of the old historic mines. As I said, there's 100% correlation there, which is a very powerful tool because it allows us to really focus nicely on our future exploration ground. And I'll just dwell on this slide for a moment, because I mentioned that 43 of the 50 holes ever drilled on the property were drilled around that yellow star at Tintic. So that Tintic structure is about 700 metres long. The Jim structure is about 1.7 kilometres long. And Jim's has never had a drill hole put into it, despite having a mine there. And if you look at the northern part of the property, extensive mining operations and only 7 holes ever drilled in that area. And the target area for us is on the contact of the gabbros, which is that purpley blue area, and the east-west structures that are pervasive through there that go from Helen May all the way through Merrimack, and indeed continue all the way to the property boundary there. In addition to the geophysics, we then set about surface sampling, and I'm used to explorationists coming back and telling me about ppb, or parts per billion, as opposed to parts per million and grams per tonne. And we've done extensive surface sampling in the last 18 months, and the high grade is really quite pervasive. Not only immediately located at the old historic mine sites, but also along strike, particularly in an east-west direction from Helen May through Arizona Magma and Merrimack, but also in new areas, one that's located southeast of Cynthia and north of Merrimack. There's a brand new area with lots of historic veining and high grades there. So when you overlay that on top of the geophysics, and then you come to the drilling, which we did in November last year, it's quite an exciting story. And we only did the drilling program after we had satisfied ourselves that the geophysics and geochemistry really stacked up. We went searched through old historic records, as you could imagine, and found that in some of the historic societies. And that led us to have confidence to go and do an 11-hole diamond program late last year. What was interesting, of those 11 holes, 8 of them were targeting known mining areas, which was Tintic, Arizona Magma, and Merrimack. And we were really, really excited with the results. All the holes that you see there hit high grade and very high grade at shallow depth. And it's not just gold, which is our main focus, but very high grades in silver, and lead, zinc, and copper as well. So going back to the terms that our geologists use, that this area is very juiced up, those diamond results were proof of that. And we did diamond work. It was more expensive, but we really wanted to understand the geology and the structures and get a good handle on the grade. And those results were very pleasing. Post the drilling program, we knew that we had high grades at depth. So we had high grades at shallow areas. We also knew we had extensive veining on surface, but we wanted to get a bit of a feel for how that might extend at depth. So we decided to trial a very cost-effective geophysical method called Supersting. Now, Supersting won't go down to hundreds of meters, but it certainly works very well down to about 100, 150 meters. So we trialed a few lines. I mean, in fact, we did 5 lines, and it only cost us $30,000. And we did a couple over Marymia and Helen May, and we were really surprised by how well it lit up the vein system. Obviously, we would have been disappointed if it didn't, but it clearly shows where Arizona magma, Marymia, and the starlight veins are. Not forgetting these veins are hundreds of meters, if not over a kilometre long. And it also coincided where the Marymia shaft was. So it's a very, very powerful tool that we can use going forward for targeting our drilling. So Helen May was the other one. Now that's located about 300 meters to the east of the Arizona magma mine, which was the large mining operation they had there up until 1942. And again, you can see that the Arizona magma and the starlight veins get lit up really well. So again, a very, very powerful tool we have there. I thought I'd just take a moment to just step through a couple of photos, because I think pictures tell 1,000 words. So that's standing on the Starlight Hill or the Starlight Vein, looking south back towards Kingman and looking over the old ore bin, which was in the original photo I showed you. And you can see, in addition to the ore bin, you can see on the right-hand side what's left of the processing plant, which isn't much. The processing plant was valuable, so that when they finished with it, they dismantled it and took it away. And the tailings, which sits there, there's about 50,000 tonnes of tailings which sit there. And the next slide is Marymia, which is a few hundred metres to the east of Arizona magma, and that's our geologist standing by the shaft. The shaft has been capped by the Bureau of Land Management, or the BLM, for safety reasons. And it just shows you how easy and accessible the property and the location is. Our altitude's only about 4,000 feet, so we get very little snow. You get more snow up in Nevada, but in the middle of the winter, you get a light dusting of snow on the mountains. So we really have 365-day access. I must be honest and say that in August, it gets very hot. I like to think I'm a tough West Aussie miner, but when it's 46 degrees, it's pretty unpleasant. So we don't do a lot of drilling in the month of August. The next photo is of Jim's. We have taken it upon ourselves to actually fence Jim's off. That's our 2 geologists standing by it. Now, I won't spend a lot of time talking about the geology here, because I am a mining engineer, so whatever geology I talk, you have to take with a grain of salt. But our geologists are very excited about what we have here, not only from the great results, the high-grade results we're seeing in the drilling and the surface sampling, but just this pervasive veining that we see throughout the property, both east-west and north-south, and are very encouraged by what they're seeing. There's lots of mineralisation, which we know, and so the opportunity for us is that we believe we can quickly extend our known results, both along strike and down depth, which in itself is the prize here. So infrastructure, it's probably worth taking a moment to just talk a little bit about where we are, because we've all worked in difficult places located hundreds of kilometres from service centres, and it's really quite pleasing to have a project that's located 20 miles from Kingman, Arizona. Kingman, whilst not a mining town, is a major surface centre because it's on Route 66. So there's about 1,000 motels. Well, I'm exaggerating. There's about 100 motels there. But there's a workforce there. We rent trucks from there, bobcats from there. It's an excellent place to operate from. The BLM have their local office there, so we are in contact with the Bureau of Land Management. It's the seat of the local county. And in addition to that, operating in close proximity, there's an operating gold mine. So it speaks to the jurisdiction, and the reality is if you have something, you can actually take it all the way through into production because there's a permanent gold mine using cyanide just down the road from us. That's our office there in Kingman. We get a great office for $2,000 a month, which is a nice cost-effective little cost centre. And the core you see laid out there was from our 2019 drill program. So what's next? I guess for us, it's all about early in the new year. We currently have our notice of intent lodged with the Bureau of Land Management, and they're going through that at the present. And they'll come back to us with the bond that we'll have to pay. I think we paid $15,000 bond last year. We're planning a large 5,000 metre RC drill program. And I guess the 5,000 metres just is demonstrating to people that we're serious and we really think we're onto something here. The focus is, of course, going to be on Arizona magma, Marymia, Tintic and Jims because of the known mineralisation in those areas. But we're also going to put a few holes into Starlight, Helen May, and maybe a couple of wildcat holes, perhaps around Cynthia. So there's an opportunity for us to drill these cost effectively and quickly, but because of the shallow depth, the project, one of the many things we like about the project is the opportunity to build on that early success and turn around and launch into follow-up drill programs in 2021. So I guess in summary, it's an exciting project. Not only does it have very high grade gold and silver, but it has really, really nice zinc, silver, lead and copper credits. There are multiple veins, quite pervasive. We have a very large strategic land holding in what is a tier one jurisdiction. Permitting process is underway. Riedel can earn 80% in control of this project. And as I mentioned, we have an ability to quickly build on our success because of the location, because of the access year round and the shallow nature of the high grade mineralisation. So that's it in a nutshell. I'd like to thank you for dialing in and now invite any questions you might have.
Sure, thanks Mike. And there are some questions have come in. Mike, you're currently a director of both Ramelius and Mincor. What is it about this project going to Riedel that sort of got you sort of excited to come in and put your time and effort and imprimatur on?
Well, I personally really like the Southwest USA. I have done for a while. I think it's a great jurisdiction. I think it's very much underexplored for a number of reasons. There's never been a really strong, this is my opinion, a really strong junior mining sector there. They do exist, but not like in Canada and Australia, for example. The tenure has meant that it's been difficult to put contiguous land packages together. And to just come across a property that had historic mines, when they told me it had never been drilled at Arizona Magma, I actually swore at them and told them that they were lying to me. And it wasn't until we sort of did the work. And to be able to go up in a first world jurisdiction and drill shallow holes into high grade that's never been drilled, I find astounding, frankly.
I couldn't agree more. Mike, sort of on a similar vein, pardon the pun, the fact that you're going to do a 1,500 metre RC program in the new year, do you think you've got
5,000 metres?
Sorry,
5,000 metres.
Sorry, 5,000, not 1,500. So a 5,000 metre program, all RC. Do you think you've got enough structural information from the limited drilling so far, rather than to do all RC rather than having DD, doing diamond?
Yeah, look, if we hadn't done that diamond work initially, I'd agree with you. But we now have, there's 4 holes at Tintic that have been done, 3 at Arizona Magma and 1 at Marymia. And so we have quite a lot of information. In addition to, we've still got the underground mining plans from the old timers. So we have a good sense of the spatial distribution of where things are. And when you combine all that, look, would I love to do it all in diamond? Yes, I would, but diamond's twice the cost. So look, I think the 5,000 metre RC program will be fit for purpose. if we have success, I'm sure we'll do more diamond work in 2021.
Sure. When, given you're going to start in the first quarter, realistically, I know with COVID, it's probably going to make it a little bit harder to actually sort of schedule, but realistically, when do you think you'll start to have results sort of coming out to the market from that program?
Oh, look, I would caveat this with the issues of COVID. We've been told anecdotally that the turnaround times from the assay labs in the US right now is really slow. And that's not a criticism, that's just an observation. Sure. So I would anticipate probably 6 to 8 weeks after we finish drilling. So look, I wouldn't expect to see results until March at the earliest.
Fair enough. The company still maintains the interest in the Marymia project, as I understand. What's the view and the focus for that project now, given you're moving across to Kingman?
Oh, look, without avoiding a question, I can't really answer the question. I haven't joined the board of Riedel yet, and so I don't know what the plans are there. For us, it was, Riedel just presented the opportunity to put the US project into it, and Riedel's a minor partner in that project, so I can't really answer the question for you.
And fair enough. That was all the questions we had on the screen. Mike, have you any closing comments you'd like to make?
No. I'd just like to say that it's really nice to work in a project that's so civilized and well located compared to some of the places we've all worked with in our careers. So if anyone's, hopefully in 2022 when the borders are open, if anyone's going to Vegas, they might drive past and see us operating out there. So I look forward to that.
Very good. Mike, thanks very much. And thanks very much. That brings us to the end of day 3 and the close of NWR Resources Conference. So thanks to all the companies such as Mike and for Riedel presenting. Thanks very much, and hope everyone who's listening has got something out of it. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.